We are here in conversation with Mr. K. Vijay Kumar Gupta, CEO of Quality Photonics Pvt Limited from Hyderabad. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I greet all the viewers of ELE TV. I think it's a great new technology-based channel which is coming up through the ELE Delhi Times Group. We congratulate you and we'll be very happy to share all the business issues with you, all the time to time with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. The LED is a very happening word these days, and the whole industry is moving around LED. So how do you see the LED market as of now?
Right. LED is really the buzz in today's electronic industry. I think even through the age 2008 downturn of the world economy, it was LED which kept the growth up for the whole of China as well as the rest of the world. And then we are so happy that Quality Photonics Pvt Limited has been manufacturing LEDs since 26 years, since 1987. It so happens that I am Vijay Kumar Gupta, Managing Director, Quality Photonics Pvt Limited, Hyderabad. I have been associated with LED industry and LED technology since my college days. I made my first LED part of my BE project at IIT Bangalore, where I was a gold medalist. Worked as scientist in CEL, Central Electronics Limited, where we had a DSC funded NPL know-how based development project to make LEDs in India. So you can imagine that our policy makers had a very long thought even 30 years ago. But of course, the kind of resources were not enough, and then it has not really taken off from there. So we started our industry in 1987, manufacturing LEDs, through whole LEDs initially in 87. In 93, we started doing 7-segment displays, and then much later, I think for the last 10-15 years, we are doing white LEDs, both SMD as well as the COB types. So we are the leading top brand, as acknowledged by the readers of Electronics for You for the last 2 years. And then probably we have the highest brand equity, and we are able to match or even better the global quality at very good competitive prices as on today.
You are the indigenous LED manufacturer here in India. So how do you distinguish yourself from the other LED manufacturers?
Actually, it's not a question of distinction because the LED is a commodity business. Everybody has to make it the same size and same commodity. That's not the issue, but we are able to bring 25 years of knowledge and ability to, we understand LEDs very well, and we would like to make sure that India becomes a very manufacturing country globally, because India is a very big market by itself. You can imagine, see that in the last 1 year itself, more than 4.5 crores of worth of bulbs have been distributed by EESL, and using more than around 100 crores of LEDs were used in this. So what's happening to all this demand? It's going abroad. So it has to be seen that LED capability is really established in India. Many more manufacturers have to come in, and they have to come in when it's remunerative and fetching for them. So we'll have to create an ecosystem for LEDs manufactured in India, and the kind of investments required are mind-boggling. Probably we'll need have at least 10,000 to 20,000 crores worth of LED assembly lines here. Like a large LED manufacturing company in China, it makes 30,000 million LEDs per month. That means almost 1,000 kk per month. Whereas we would like to at least start a plant of 10 kk per month. That means 20 kk per day, 10 million per day, 10 million per day itself. That's kind of demand we are talking about. And we have this nice ESDM policy, which I think one of the best policies ever to be made by DATI, and it really gives a kind of support in capex by the form of 25% rebate on your investments, as well as almost 15 to 20% rebate in terms of customs duty waiver. Also, there are some products where government is ready to give you 10% production incentive. So that means it's almost like setting off your excise duty part, which is around 12.5%. These are very good, but then the component industry, this has attracted lots of large industries into India, in the especially systems and box type. So probably the 400 billion target when we achieve, it will be not very far away. But when you see at the kind of activity which is happening even at this level, probably 80% of that is again imported content. So almost that means we are talking about 300 billion being imported into India, and because there is no base of components in India. So it's more important that one is to make sure that LED component industry has to be really studied by the government to see what are the problems facing that these industries are not being able to come to India. So we have a zero duty regime. So that means you have to compete directly with outside world. And India has a lot of disability factors thanks to the higher cost of capital, the delay in the transactions, the corruption cost, other things which has been many times quantified very well by CIA and other organizations as 15 to 20%. So this has to be set off on a daily basis on every product which we make here. So that means the interest rates also very important, and as well as the kind of incentive is required. I know the government cannot keep doing this forever for every industry. So, but to kickstart, probably I think they must create something called a pioneer status and allow first 10 companies to come in with very huge amount of support from the government, so that all these incentives are given. Additional SOPs as well as rebates should be almost 15 to 20%. And then definitely there's a component industry will be set up in India. These first pioneers will be taking a lot of risk, but they should make sure that at least they don't suffer loss, at least they break even. So with this kind of policies, so I think we must, it's the right time for the government to bring up a electronic component industry policy. I'm past president of ELSINA, Electronic Component Industry Association, which has helped government in formulating many of the policies as well as the duty structures. We'll be very happy to support the government in this regard and make a study of this and see that component industry takes a root in India. And then once it becomes strong, probably the government can see that there's a proliferation of the product. That naturally the cost of production is going up in other countries, and India can remain competitive thanks to our youth power as well as and we are expecting a much lower, stronger rupee as well as the better interest regime. And all these things will definitely make sure that we'll have a very vibrant electronic industry in India very soon.
If you can tell us what are the two most important stumbling blocks which is barring Indian electronic industry to raise to a level?
Definitely the cost of funds as well as the availability of capital goods in India. I think the electronic industry requires lots of SMT pick and place machines at the one level, and when you go to a deeper level, you need wire bonders, die bonders, flip chip bonders, and encapsulation machines and all, which somehow India has never taken off. In countries like China and Taiwan earlier, they used to have very small bonders. They were able to make COB based circuits like what you see inside a clock or watch, where you have a bare IC bonded onto a simple PCB and whole system built on one PCB together. So that kind of thing is absence. So probably India should invite a large wire bonder and die bonder company into India and start making locally. A die bonder, which is fast die bonders are required today, and each costing around 1 crore. They can be, once they are made in India, probably we could look at as low cost as 20 to 30 lakhs itself. So one is capital goods, other is cost of funds. These are two things. And I think a lot of support from the government in terms of ready infrastructure. When we go for land and building, I know many state governments are very ebullient today, trying to give land to the industry. But a lot of development work is required, and construction work has to be required. A lot of permissions have to be acquired. All this takes quite a long time. And if the electronic industry is such that we can manage with flattered factories like what you have in Singapore, like Jurong Industrial Park and all, if government can start building up this in a very fast manner and then give ready-made things, a plug-and-play sort of industrial estates for us, I think that will be a fantastic way to kickstart electronic industry in India, rather than just allow EMC or development of land, because then that becomes many times we have seen that it's become a game of real estate, and then some other interests come into picture. Whereas once the government gives a place where we can work directly at the plug and place, like what they are planning for T-Hub and other things, that sort of thing will definitely work here also.
Can we talk about the? Can we critically analyze the tax structure the government has for the electronic industry as of now, and also the GST later, maybe in the April or maybe in the next financial year or the next parliamentary session.
Right.
So can you highlight on that as well, and how it is going to affect the Indian electronic industry?
The tax structure has lots of manipulations to be done. A lot of careful study has to be done by entrepreneurs. There are some things where the front end is higher. There's inverted duty structure in some of the things. When you bring finished goods, it's cheaper. When you bring components, it's expensive. But apart from that, probably LEDs is some thrust areas have to be definitely identified by the government, and see that the whole material chain is taxed at a homogeneous way, such that there is an incentive to work backwards and create the products back end. So this is very important, and rather than simple this thing. And there should also be a compulsory some sort of pressure on the bigger manufacturers to source their products in India. I think some action is being taken, but how well the government can support in this, we'll have to really see, basically. The GST is going to be is being definitely anticipated from the ease of doing business is a point of view, but we are afraid that the rates which they have been floating around, they are on the higher side, and ultimately it may not really benefit or create a lot of skewing of the system. So we certainly hope that electronics and LEDs in particular will be, and lighting will be in turn be grouped in the lower category essential commodities or favored category group, where we expect overall taxation to be less than 12 to 15%. That is central GST as well as state GST. Together, yeah, it should be less than that. In which case probably it gives a level playing field to us, basically.
But the GST all around the world is 15 to 18% of it. So do you think it is a higher side of taxation?
The figures which we have been hearing are over 20%, right? 20-25%, which is simply clubbing the existing VAT of 14% at existing central excise duty of 12.5%. So if the government is looking from that angle, it's going to be a lot of commotion in the industry and turmoil, I suppose.
So do you think the GST can be the game changer for the investment in India?
It will be beginning of the change. Definitely we might get the rates wrong or systems wrong, but overall I think it will unify the whole country. There will be no barriers, and definitely the supplier states will gain at the cost of consumer states, and ultimately we'll find a formula to how to share these spoils or gains to the benefit of or for the satisfaction of everybody. And once that happens, then the trepidation on the lowering income to the states will come down, and then they'll start looking at the prices to see that total buoyancy happens. We have seen that when the income tax rates were down, still our tax collection was better. When the central excise duty came down, still the taxes were always better. So the taxation per se, higher taxation rate, doesn't mean that they are going to get a lot of it. But they are afraid that they might lose this tax revenue in the first few years, But we are sure that once the whole everybody starts understanding the process and how the whole thing is working, the tax rates will come down to the global levels, which is 15 to 17% overall.
So, with all the government effort and the other benefits the government is giving in terms of incentives and all such things, so what is the future of Indian electronic industry maybe 3 to 5 years down the line?
There is absolutely no doubt that Indian electronic industry is going to really grow very fast and hard. We have got the right kind of people in the administration, the DIT and telecom administration, and they got the points very correctly, and I think they are sincerely trying to solve the problems, and not all of them are so easy for them to change the mindset among the other departments of the government, because revenue department has its own problems. They have to meet the deficit gap and other things. States have their own problems. So all to take the players along, it's going to take a little bit of time. But the focus is very clear. Everybody understands that today electronics is a major part of our economy. And then unless we master this business and see that we get a major chunk of it into India, India cannot survive. So this part is very clear. I think the faster, the bolder decisions the government takes on this front, it will be better. Though initially we might have a little bit of turmoil, but ultimately we will be a gainer. The whole country will be a big gainer if we manage to get all electronics which is coming out of China into India, because China is becoming an expensive country. And then many countries like Japan, Korea are not at all comfortable with China. They are looking for other place to come over. And if we can make, they are countries very far away, they have language problems. But if we can make them extra comfortable in our country, I think we are going to get for FDI will keep pouring in and lots of investments will come in basically.
Anything else you would like to address to your audience through ELE Times TV?
I think the LED industry, as a part of that, we are so happy that we are in the center of attention to whole world globally, and we think that ELE Times again is a great medium which we have used very successfully in last 4 or 5 years, and we are sure that ELE team will highlight the achievements of Indian electronic industry, and then also bring the right kind of issues to the notice of the all the stakeholders in the country, be it government or the industry or the users as well as consumers. And we hope that India will achieve a great status in the electronic industry. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gupta. Thank you very much.